And welcome back, everybody. Next on the agenda is child labor and its prevention and elimination. We are now chatting with Renee Joseph, a member of the National Steering Committee for the Prevention and Elimination of Child Labor, and Mr. Farouk Mohammed, Chief Labor Inspector, Specialist at the Ministry of Labor. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you and to your viewers.
Yes. Mr. Mohammed, let's get right to the issue here. Does child labor exist in Trinidad and Tobago, and how does it manifest itself in this country?
Yes, so good morning again. Good morning, everyone. Yes, child labor does exist in Trinidad and Tobago. Last year, the Ministry of Labor, through our communications unit, we ran a social media campaign. And we received a number of reports, alleged reports of child labor. Coming out of those reports, we have identified 75 cases that we have assigned to labor inspectors to investigate. What we are seeing is a majority of these cases are happening within the family. So, for example, a parent, a guardian, a sibling may be encouraging the child within that family to be engaged in child labor.
Yeah. Ms. Joseph, and that's a very good point that Mr. Mohammed has raised there, because what is the legal age for persons to work? Because there may be families that may say, well, I have a small son, a small daughter, we have a business in the family. So how does that constitute to be child labor?
Well, let me just say that the legal age to work in Trinidad and Tobago is 16 years of age. And child labor is differentiated from chores around the home. So if a child, for example, is working in a family business during the vacation period, for example, they may have a parlor, for example, and it is not affecting them physically, mentally, emotionally, or impeding their ability to attend school, then we have not crossed over the line into child labor. But there's a big difference, however, between asking a child to feed the puppy every day and having a child tote a bag of feed to feed the cows 5 o'clock every morning. And it leaves him tired and unable to focus in school, etc. It's physically arduous for him to be able to undergo or complete that task. So yes, it is very possible for a child to assist in a family business, but it must not affect the child's ability to attend school and must not be physically or emotionally stressful towards the child. And there's a difference between chores and child labor, as we would say. Let me also say that many persons between the ages of 16 to 18 as well, notwithstanding that we have the limit of age 16 to be able to work in Trinidad and Tobago, there are still other types of child labor that may be hazardous to this age group because they are still minors under the law. All right, the age of majority is 18 years. And so we still want, while they may be permitted to work, they should really not engage in hazardous types of work.
Yeah, Ms. Joseph, what you have told us there, it would seem that we have had a long history of child labor in Trinidad and Tobago, because we would have heard our parents, other relatives speaking about, well, they had to milk the cow and they had to do this and that before they go to school. So it has been a part of our culture for a while now, huh?
That is very correct. And that's why the National Steering Committee for the Prevention and Elimination of Child Labor is launching a really aggressive public awareness campaign, because we definitely need a change in mindset. What would have been normal is no longer so. It, in fact, never was. And because of a lack of awareness, we now need to resensitize the population. Now, there are those who are aware, and we just need the information to go further and wider so that it trickles down to John and Jane public, and we can eliminate child labor altogether within Trinidad and Tobago by the goal of 2025.
Yeah. Mr. Mohammed, so what is the role of the Ministry of Labor and the National Steering Committee in protecting children from child labor?
The Labor Inspectorate Unit of the Ministry of Labor is responsible for monitoring and investigating reports of child labor. So we have a team of labor inspectors. When reports come into our unit, we would assign inspectors to investigate. They would go out, gather information, interview the child, interview the employer or parent or guardian. We're looking to understand what may be the underlying issues. Why is this child involved in child labor? Why are they out of school? So it's an issue that really, it's bigger than a labor issue. We are through the National Steering Committee for the Prevention and Elimination of Child Labor. We have brought together 14 government agencies, 2 NGOs, and academia to address the issue of prevention and elimination. Because finding a child in a labor environment and removing the child is not enough. More needs to be done. For example, we may need to reintegrate them into the education system. If it's a case of family financial problems that is causing this child to be involved in child labor, we liaise with the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services to see what sort of social support services are available to the family. And also, if there are other issues like abuse or other worst forms of child labor, we engage with the Children's Authority. The steering committee currently has 4 projects. We have 4 subcommittees. One, we're looking at developing protocols for collaboration amongst all those agencies to ensure that children are protected, and also in developing a child labor policy. The second subcommittee is looking at developing a light and hazardous work list for children under the age of 18. The third subcommittee is responsible for collecting data and developing a monitoring and evaluation framework. And the last subcommittee, chaired by Renee, is responsible for public awareness and institutional capacity building.
Yeah. Ms. Joseph, what can the public do?
Well, let me say that there are available hotlines that the public can access to be able to report instances of child labor. Our motto for our period is spot child labor, stop child labor. And so we want that they call the hotlines, they call the Labor Inspectorate Unit. Those numbers will be made available, I trust, on the screen. But we have the Child Line, we have the Children's Authority, we have the Labor Inspectorate Unit. That persons can call the Child Protection Unit, the Counter Trafficking Unit. All of these are agencies that are involved in the National Steering Committee to ensure that we can protect our children from child labor. Also, we want the public to be aware as well so that you do not perpetuate child labor. So under the legislation, a parent who allows their child to be a victim, so to speak, of child labor can be fined $5,000 under the legislation. Or they can, an employer can be fined up to $25,000 or even a prison term. And so we want to ensure that persons are aware of this so that they themselves are not necessarily perpetuating child labor or facilitating child labor, or they are able to spot it and to report it in the instances when it would happen. So that's what the public can do for us.
And Mr. Mohammed, what are the planned activities in commemoration of World Day Against Child Labor?
Well, we do have a jingle, and I think Renee could share some more information on that as public awareness. Yeah.
So today is actually the World Day Against Child Labor. All right, it's celebrated on June the 12th every year. And this year, for commemoration of this day, we are launching a jingle competition among secondary school students. So the theme, of course, is children have rights to spot child labor, stop child labor. So we're encouraging secondary school students far and wide across the country to submit a jingle of 45 to 60 seconds length to CL, that's child labor, all right, CL competition at gov.tt. All right, and we are promoting ultimately the rights of the child to be happy, the rights of the child to an education, and not to be subjected to any sort of inhumane treatment, which is what child labor is. And we have great prizes. We have lots of partners, NGOs, and other government agencies. We want to mention, of course, Childline, the Children's Authority, Youth Alive, and also our sister station as well, TTT, who have partnered with us to be able to sponsor the prizes as well as to produce this jingle. And this jingle is going to serve as our tagline, so to speak, for all of our events over the next 3 years. So we really want to encourage all schools far and wide, principals, teachers, bring out their artistic and creative juices and create a jingle and submit it for this competition. The competition is launched today, and the closing date for submissions is the 14th of July. Yeah. So that's what commemoration of World Day Against Child Labor.
Just to add, So we're joining the rest of the world today in commemorating, as Renee said, World Day Against Child Labor. And it's a global issue. The last statistics released by the International Labour Organization, January 2020, and this was pre-pandemic, showed that there were approximately 160 million children across the world involved in child labor, 97 boys and 97 million boys and 63 million girls. So it's a global issue. It affects 1 in every 10 children in that age group across the world. And we take the opportunity today to raise awareness about that issue as we seek to address the prevention and elimination of child labor.
All right, Mr. Farouk Mohammed and Renee Joseph, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you so very much. And just want to encourage everyone to participate once again in our competition. So that email address, clcompetition2023@gov.tt. We look forward to receiving your submissions and to partnering with the public in eliminating child labor from Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, thank you very much. Take care. So it's time now for a time check and the 7 o'clock news headlines.